Sigmar Polke. Alibis.
Alibis?
1963, 2010.
This is clearly meant to be like a mini version of the whole show.
Of the whole show.
Where you get, okay, you don't have to go any further, you can just do it all here and then go home and have lunch.
And this is the sense of it.
This is seeing things as they are, which is a funny proclamation for a guy who was all about creating confusion and he didn't actually believe. I mean, you could say it's crossed out, right? It says it backwards, seeing things as they are. You've got a huge X through the middle of it. In a way, it's a kind of a statement of all the confusion he wants to cause, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also a little bit of a joke here on single point perspective, because he's essentially sort of rearranged the support for the canvas.
One of the things that strikes me most about this is it's actually kind of god-awful ugly, right? Which for me is high praise, right? I don't believe in the beautiful, but I do believe in the ugly, and that's what makes him pretty special.
I think you're right.
Lee Harvey Oswald, not that you know it, right? I mean, the thing about the titles matter with Polke.
They do.
Right? 1963. So barely a month, 2 months after JFK shot.
This is not a silkscreen, and that's sort of the magic or the trick in this thing. This is actually Polke doing sort of the analog version.
But you can't tell it's a killer. Like, it's a refusal of actually saying what's at stake. This is as far from like a Warhol superstar portrait as you could possibly get.
Exactly. This cat's idea of the glories of consumerism.
Infinite sausages.
Infinite
sausages. As many
infinite sausages.
As many
infinite
wurst as you could eat.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. But he grew up in
poverty. So his idea of consumerism is having enough to eat. One of the great claims of this show, aside from being the biggest survey of Polke to date, is that it mixes all the media, which is something he actively opposed during his lifetime.
Which is
not interested in doing.
I think it's important for museums to actually say, forget it, we'll do what we want. You don't own the art anymore. Luckily. I'm sorry that he's dead, but it means at least the museum can do whatever it wants instead of being,
Among other things, we wouldn't be sort of running around here like we were in an Easter egg hunt looking for titles. One of the interesting things that he did with these raster dots is that he didn't just reproduce them. He also, by hand, but he also added to them.
Right.
Because the idea was essentially to make the image more diffuse and determinate, so that it would actually sort of it would fall apart right before your eyes.
You know what else I think is important to say? Is that Polke, though one of the most famous artists in the world, is essentially unknown to the public in America. There's been this weird void in this country. Gerhard Richter.
Everyone knows Gerhard Richter.
Well, because he sells for $40 million or whatever they sell for, whereas Polke, the market's way lower for Polke.
On the other hand, though, he's definitely an artist. It's just about a polka for every artist.
Yeah.
As this, I think, show demonstrates. When we're talking about Polke being an artist of his time, or an artist engaged at this time, rather, we come to something like this, which is a picture called Dr. Bond, which he produced basically during the German Autumn, which was when the Bader-Meinhof gang was going absolutely nuts.
Things are blowing up.
People are being
dying.
Kidnapped, dying.
On both sides.
And so he basically sort of produces this faceless bureaucrat sitting at his bureau.
But killing himself, right? He's about to blow his head off with
something that won't exactly kill him.
I'm worried, though, that the kind of things we're saying it's kind of weird. They all sound negative, but we actually think that Polke's a great artist, right? A really great artist. Like I do anyway. So.
I'm sure he'd like to be sort of remembered just like everybody else.
He's not Bruce Nauman, who just seems like a sort of crazy man doing weird shit. He's definitely inserting himself into the art historical canon by pretending to refuse to insert himself into the art historical canon.
True. That's true. But I guess what I'm getting at is I'm not sure if endless questioning, endless debunking basically sort of makes it ultimately a great statement.